Mugs really are an amazing creation for potters. People will sometimes buy a single mug where if they're buying a bowl, they might want to buy it in a full set. So knowing how to make mugs is definitely an important skill. In this video, we're going to go over different ways or different body shapes for mugs so that you can make mugs that are in different shapes in a huge different variety, all using the same amount of clay. Let's get to it. For each of these cups, I follow the same basic method at the beginning of centering the clay and then opening it up. For some of them in this video, I'll show it. I certainly will with this first one, but then to kind of get things moving along, I'll actually skip this part moving forward for some of the mugs. Anyway, you'll notice that the picture down at the bottom there of the trimmed mug, it's marbled clay. So I actually took the clay and kneaded it together with some clay that was dyed using iron oxide. And I used 3 different shades of clay. So I've got the clay that will become white, and then a darker shade, and then the darkest shade. So you can see when it's actually finished, it has 3 different colors of clay that end up looking really sharp. So if you were wondering why the clay looks a little bit pinkish while I'm throwing it on the wheel there, and yet it looks kind of marbled in the final pictures, that's the reason why. I was doing a series of marbled clay, and I tried to add some color to the rim and the inside. Anyway, this is a video about the shape of different mugs, so I want to talk a little bit about each shape as I make it. This one here is a favorite of my wife's, actually, having this mug. She said this one was actually not tall enough. I should have made it a little bit taller. But having that kind of wider mug with a taller base there that you can hold quite a bit of volume inside of, it's a really nice shaped mug. This one here is almost the opposite of that first example. You'll see this is a very tall mug. So you notice when I have the clay cone down and centered like that, I actually started with a much more narrow ball of clay. I tend to do that so that I don't have to manipulate the clay as much. I'll get it into the basic shape I want even at the very beginning. Anyway, this is another favorite. I really like this mug shape. A nice tall, kind of straight sides, and then that curved in part at the bottom. This one here I finished with a purple rim, and the purple on the inside really looks sharp with that marbled edge. Now I want to tell you one thing that I do here that you'll see only on marbled clay, and that's after I get the basic mug shape that I want, I take the rib tool, see that metal rib tool, and go up the side. This cuts all the slip off the outside, and it makes that marbled look really come through nice and clear. Look at that. It's beautiful. All right. This one is an interesting mug. This one and I think the next one that show how much pink almost color is inside there. See the pink around the outside? That's because there's more of the dyed clay in this than the other ones, and you see that in the finished mug there, that there tends to be a little bit less white segments and more of the dyed segments. This shape of mug is actually really popular to have it kind of bellied out a little bit at the bottom and then flared out at the lip. This is one of my most popular mug shapes of all to sell. It's really popular. It goes really quick. This was the other one that you can see has a bunch of pink in the color, lots of iron in that clay. And you'll notice that in the final mug that it really does have a lot of the dyed clay as opposed to a lot of the white spots. So you see that. I finished this with the turquoise lip on the top. This is a really traditional shaped mug where it's kind of straight lines. You can see that we definitely get a straight line picture of it. It's pretty popular and a good mug to start with when you're first doing it. And then we come to this guy. This is the mug that my wife just says it's a bowl. She said it it should have two handles on it, one on either side, because it's more of a bowl than a mug. She's like, you could eat cereal out of it, or you could eat like soup out of it. She doesn't like that I even put one handle on it, and kind of wanted it to be more of a bowl. And it is. It's a little bit short. But I have seen a lot of people lately getting this type of mug. So it's an interesting one to practice throwing, and it's a good shape. And I don't know, I think it's pretty okay mug. There we go. All right, this is one of the weirdest mugs that I threw. This number 6 and 7 are kind of triangular, upside down triangular shaped mugs. This one is a shorter, fatter one. And then the next one is sort of a tall, skinny triangular shape where you have a really small base and a really big lip. And I did both of them in orange because I felt like they both had similar shapes, but a little bit different. So you get that right here. Notice how I did finish it in the orange, and I really like that. It's just a strange shape and a fun shape for a mug. Definitely something to try out. And you see this one here has that, it's similar in that it starts with a small base and goes up to a wider flared lip. However, it's different because of the width of it and the height. So this is a good shape of a mug if you're going for something that will fit inside of like one of those cup holders. You can fit the bottom of this into pretty much any cup holder. It works out really well. This is a popular shaped mug. Actually, people tend to like the tall, skinny looking mugs. For some reason, those tend to go quite a bit when I'm having, sales of mugs. But just something that people like. And personally, I like this orange color, so I did both of them in the orange. And you'll see that I'm actually using a trimming tool there to give the bottom kind of a roundish rim. I don't always do that, but I decided to for that one. All right, this mug, number 8, is kind of a challenging one to throw. With this one, you want the base to actually be wider, and then it goes in almost like a stein. And I really like the idea of being able to do this with a mug, that you don't have to throw it straight up and down. You can kind of collar it in and work with it. And you'll see that that's what I do. I take both hands. This is called collaring it in. And you sort of bring the shape in. I'm using a rib tool there to straighten that edge a little bit. And then I'll also use a rib tool to kind of clean the slip off later on. Now, mug number 9, my camera shut off and I actually lost this one. But you can see the shape of it there, and I did get the very end when it was on the wheel, or I might have put it back onto the wheel. But throwing mug number 9 is exactly the same as throwing mug number 10. Here's mug number 10. I'll start with sort of a fairly wide base. That one actually had a hair I had to pull out of it. You start with a fairly wide base, and then I bring it up and try and keep the sides completely straight. And then I actually bellied this one out using the sponge on the inside. So you see there, and I glazed both of these with a white interior and a white lip, so you can see that there. Notice I have the sponge with the interior hand, and right about now is where I stopped on mug 9. Mug 10, I just gave it a little bit of a lip. That's the main difference between mug 9 and 10. And I wanted to show that with mug 9 and 10, also with 11 and 12, that you can do the same basic mug shape and just add a lip on the top, and it totally transforms what the mug will look like. So again, I did that with 11 and 12. If you look at mug 11 right now on the bottom corner there, it has kind of an abrupt end to it. And then you take mug 12, and it's the exact same main body shape as this, only with a lip. And that's exactly what I did for these ones on purpose to illustrate that the shape of a mug doesn't need to be drastically different to be to look pretty significantly different. You don't have to have an entire new throwing technique to be able to make different shaped mugs. All you need to do is just be a little creative. You can have a little bit more of a belly, a little bit lower of a belly. You can have a bit more of a flare on the lip, or a little bit less flare on the lip, or have no flare on the lip whatsoever. And again, you've made several different shaped mugs. So look at this one. I did glaze this one with black on the top, and I glazed this one the same way. Look, same mug shape, just a flare on the lip. That's the only difference between these ones. Again, 910 and 1112 were the same basic pattern where I threw two very similar mugs and just gave them a lip, and that was the only difference. So that's kind of exciting for me to be able to show those mug types. And what I'm going to do in this video right about now, you'll see I start bellying this one out. And if you know you are going to put a flare on the lip, notice I pulled that one a little bit taller. And when I'm bellying it out and collaring in, I'm going to try and purposely leave a little bit extra so that I have room for that lip. All right, so the belly's a little lower. That way I have the same lip. Or some room for the lip, because I'm using the same amount of clay for all of these mugs, actually, 1.25 pounds. So that was the last one. There you have it, 12 different mug shapes, the same exact amount of clay for each mug, and just a little bit of a variation to show you that the possibilities are endless. Have fun experimenting and trying new shapes. Have a wonderful day.